punk revolution now. Today we're going to be reviewing the Callous Daoboys. Not the Dallas Cowboys. I always want to say that. I gotta think real hard before I speak. The Callous Daoboys, which is one of the coolest mathcore bands I have listened to since I've started reviewing music back in 2019. Not to brag, but I kind of was pretty early on this band because they released their debut album Die on Mars back in June of 2019, and I reviewed it in July, so kind of early to the game. I do like to flex that because they are now pretty universally acclaimed amongst people who listen to mathcore as certainly one of the most exciting and interesting bands in the genre, and it's a fantastic genre, so that's a W. What's kind of immediately striking about them is that they are just so freaking incredibly talented. A band with just like a huge production, lots of instruments and wacky, cool, crazy, just incredibly powerful breakdowns and stuff, and that's all great, always important in mathcore to be technically impressive at your instrument, but what made them stand out was not only were they incredible, but they were like really goofy and like funny too, and like doing all these weirdo kind of creative, funny, weird stuff throughout their album. Like it sounded like they were just really having fun while putting together Die on Mars, which is always a nice thing when there's a band that doesn't take themselves too seriously, but if you really listen, you can tell they absolutely kick ass. So that's a very enjoyable and fun mathcore record to listen to. So the pressure is kinda on. I'm not gonna lie, I got some high expectations here because they really showed they kicked ass with their debut. I'm excited for their sophomore. This is Celebrity Therapist. Let's start by taking a look at the album cover. This album artwork is pretty interesting because it's actually not immediately clear what the heck is going on here. It looks like there's like a circle of maybe those are the bandmates or something, and they're all like putting a sack over each other's face, and it's like kind of like a circle. I don't know what this is supposed to mean, if this is like a metaphor for how in society we're all backstabbing each other and suffocating each other, and it's just a circle of everybody just kind of like, I don't know, screwing each other over, and we're all blinded to our own circle of chaos. I don't know what it's trying to say. And then you have the album title also, which is Celebrity Therapist, which is also kind of philosophical. You can think of the celebrities as the people at the top of the pyramid of society, but even the people at the top of the pyramid also have mental health issues and need to go to therapy, which is a perfectly, a reasonable and understandable thing. But our society tells us that our mental health issues will go away if we reach the top, which is not true. I don't know. I'm reading into it too much, but I'm probably somewhere kind of in line with the themes, but you can tell these themes immediately. They're not super funny. The album cover, the title, you can just tell it's like a little bit darker. Like at least in Die on Mars, it did look kind of like an evil circus. Like it had this circus thing, which is kind of like goofy. This doesn't really have anything super goofy about it, and you put on the first track, and immediately you can tell I'm picking up a lot of lyrics that are just so full of angst and frustration. They're gonna be mad at you, they're mad at our society, they're mad at our political system, they're mad at just the intense hypocrisy throughout our freaking society. They're even mad at God, and they don't know if God is real or not, but they're mad at whatever the heck is going on. It's got this like real punk political angst that just is so disgusted and grossed out by like everything around them. The politics, economics, the culture, the American culture, some really intense kind of hard-hitting lines like when I look at the American flag, I feel nothing, even when it's at half-mast. That's a pretty heavy line because like, let's be real, the American flag is at like half-mast all the time now with so many shootings. It's like, of course you're just gonna be numb to it and just like, it's interesting. This was the band that released a debut album that I would describe as just a whole lot of fun, and now they're going in this new direction where they're still a lot of fun. Musically, they're incredibly talented, they're doing lots of great stuff, but they're taking themselves a little bit more seriously here, which I actually appreciate because they sure have the talent to actually pull something off that's a little bit more serious. Beyond just the slightly more serious direction lyrically, I feel like musically they've, of course, are really stepping it up here to bringing a lot of really creative and really cool ideas to the table. I mean, of course, they're gonna have the classic, just insane mathcore, really strange time signature breakdowns that get really heavy and just absolutely rip. But I'm actually really appreciating a lot of the some of the more melodic stuff they're bringing in here. The vocalist at times does actually sing with a kind of like an emo, scratchy, very melodic, powerful projection, and it sounds very good. Like, he's actually a very good singer, and it's a really nice tension and release to have some incredible, just incredible drumming that's just so powerful, and the really sick bass lines and fantastic guitar playing, and then you got maybe a little bit more of like a slightly more melodic moment, and the contrast is really nice because if you have a 40-minute album that's just nonstop a barrage of incredible breakdowns, well, it can get tiring, and the Callous Daoboys just naturally, with their songwriting kind of approach of just being so chaotic and going everywhere, it does leave space for you to actually have moments to like kind of take a little bit of a breather here, and then all of a sudden you're having like an insane like, what the frick is this? I love how in a brief article regarding time loops, like that freaking guitar, it's hard to articulate what it's doing, but it has like a riff, and it's just an incredible freaking banger over a riff, and they kind of like adjust it throughout the song to kind of fuck with the tempo and the time signature, and it's just is like, yes, it's just so, it just kicks ass. And the fact that lyrically it's kind of talking about deja vu and what time is, and it's real philosophical, and then the guitar itself is kind of fucking with the time signature. It's just super creative. Lots of really creative things throughout the album like that, where you can kind of see a connection between the actual music and the lyrical content. The very best example of them kind of connecting the musical ideas with the lyrics, I think, is in Star Baby, where they have this really interesting kind of reflection and frustration on, again, that kind of punk and political rage coming through cleverly in lyrics about how they're frustrated, how like our society just puts so many intense incentives for you to just sell out and make plastic, crappy, poppy art. And, they're making mathcore, which is like the polar opposite. And I'm sure they have lots of people and friends who are like, wow, you're so famous now. Why don't you guys write an emo pop album and make a lot of money? And I'm sure there's lots of incentives for all of them to do that. And this is kind of their middle finger to that, middle finger to society. Like, it's really like a indictment of society for just pushing you as an artist to create bullcrap. They do this thing here where they have this like really beautiful melodic kind of major key, somewhat poppy moment at the end that kind of breaks down. It's actually very beautiful, and to me I see this as a way of saying, look, we're capable at doing that poppy, melodic, accessible crap. So when we're writing a song saying we reject doing that poppy crap, we're not just saying that because we want to be edgy. No, we actually are capable of doing that poppy stuff, but we're not doing it because we have integrity, unlike the rest of this fucking plastic society. And that's kind of what it's doing. And it's kind of ironic though, because while they're doing this melodic thing, it sounds so good. You're kind of like, okay, I get you're doing a song about how you want to stick to your punk mathcore and how you're not going to do catchy melodic stuff. But I don't know, that catchy melodic stuff sounds pretty damn good. It kind of gave me chills, so I don't know, maybe you should consider selling out. Just kidding. I don't know. It's a really cool thing what they did though. Honestly, kind of reflecting on this album as a whole, it definitely has as many kick-ass, incredible, mathcore, heavy, punky breakdowns as their debut, with as many twists and turns, but I actually do appreciate the more serious direction, and I feel like they're actually pulling it off, which is really impressive, because I think serious art is frankly better than just like humorous art, although serious art is sometimes harder to pull off, and they pulled it off. It feels like they did it. They pulled it off. They actually put together a successful follow-up to Die on Mars that I think many people are going to prefer. Obviously, there's going to be some people who prefer the more goofy, fun stuff, but for me, I think it's just a very cohesive, artistic record with lyrics that kind of reference other things happening in the album. Like, it's very cohesive, very well thought out. The freaking violins, as always, are freaking badass. The way they're like, ding, ding, ding. It's almost like the, like a horror film, how violins can kind of give that dissonant tension. They're like incorporating that into the album. There's just a lot of freaking, it's packed. It's really packed. I've listened to this album like 8 or 9 times, and I feel like every time I listen to it, there's another cool little detail, little production thingamajig in there. So lots of replay value. The musical talent is just unfreaking matched. I love the jazzy guitars. Like, this is just fantastic jazz, little interludes here and there that just sound freaking fantastic. I can't help but like think back to when Black Midi's Hellfire came out. Everyone was talking about how they're an incredibly talented band and how amazing they are and how chaotic they are. If you like Black Midi, that's fine. But frankly, this album is literally just way more technical talent, way more chaotic, way more creative, way better political messaging. It kind of feels like when I hear a Black Midi fan talk about how amazing Hellfire is, it sounds to me this is the record they're describing. I don't know. I don't want to play games of comparing, but this is what progressive rock is all about. Like, progressive rock bands are good at their instruments. The Callous Cowboys are really freaking good, and they're doing way more. They're just extremely ambitious. They're just awesome, okay? They're awesome, and I'm like, I think I already thought this was true with Die on Mars, but I think they're clearly one of the best mathcore bands around today, and they've absolutely solidified themselves as undoubtedly one of the most interesting, one of the very best mathcore projects that are around today. With Celebrity Therapist, freaking fantastic album. I give this an 8.9 out of 10. Phenomenal. You must listen to this record if you're a fan of mathcore record. Dillinger Escape Plan, Converge, any of those cool, crazy mathcore bands we all love. If you love them, you gotta check out the Callous Cowboys as well. I think my only real criticism of this record is that there are a lot of pauses in this record where things just like get really quiet, and maybe there's like a little bit of noise here and there. And of course, I love dynamics. I actually said dynamics is one of this record's strengths when they incorporate melodic parts kind of as a break from the heavier parts, but I feel like they do kind of rely a little bit too much throughout this album on just kind of completely bringing the music to a pause before shifting to a different song idea. Obviously, when you're playing mathcore, you have a lot of different ideas you want to cram into one song, and it's really hard to transition between all those ideas. I feel like, though, sometimes this band relies a little bit too much on literally bringing the whole song to a halt, and then there's like a quiet pause for a few seconds, and then it resumes to a different idea. It's okay to do that once in a while, but I feel like it does kind of make this album's momentum a little jittery, and sometimes I want the record just to keep going because you found that they get into the midst of this amazing riff, and then it just kind of stops. And then it'll go into another amazing riff, but sometimes I wish the momentum would just keep going. So that's my only critique. Overall, it's freaking fantastic. Shout out to the Callous Cowboys. Not the Dallas Cowboys, because football and sports are for losers. No! We prefer art and making music about society being stinky because we're punks. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please like, comment, subscribe, and check out this album if that sounds interesting to you. If you've never listened to mathcore, this is a great place to start, possibly. And if you love mathcore, then you gotta listen to it. So, fantastic job, the Callous Cowboys. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, Punk Revolution. Now.